corners of my mind start racing. Things that should be kept in the basement. Spend my time trying to erase them. But when you hold me in the fantasy, it's so convincing. I shouldn't think the things I'm thinking.
Welcome to an immersive and unique experience. From Hyperion midnight to the Neogenian dawn, we continue this journey together. I thank you for joining me, fellow travelers. This is the voice of the Neogenian Whisper, and your host, Mark Vanderpool. Tonight, I take you to a small Appalachian town where moonshine comes in mason jars, and where a man who could have made more of himself under better stars or circumstances reconciles his ravaged heartstrings to the weird tunings of fate. Never fear, to those who've been asking for part 4 on the adventures of Percy Bysshe Shelley and Mary Shelley, we will be returning to their story in the very near future as a late summer or an early autumn treat. But for tonight, I will regale you with an original work of contemporary fiction by yours truly. Welcome to my story. The Barber of Deadsville, Part 1, Barber College. The skin was the problem, not me. He was past the age of elasticity, with the skin folds of a chain smoker who has not only aged into vintage leather, but lost weight and shrunk from the world besides. I can't be lanced and planted on a pole for slicing a human handbag. No one can be blamed when you're expected to give free shaves to turkey gobbler old men of Methuselah's generation. For that guy's grizzled years, though, he bled like a fresh ham. You wouldn't picture that much juice could pour out from a dried-up old turnip of a Jude. Blood all mixed with shaving lotion, lather, and red. It turned the crimson of blood not from Technicolor vampire films, but veins, real blood doing its hot, crusty, clotting thing against a vanilla cool foam. He yelled about it, too. All I could do was Swami wrap a towel around his ancient face with a weak sorry and turn him over to someone else. For mummification to be effective, first you remove the vital fluids, then the organs. Put the organs into jars. That will leave you with a skeleton cradled in sagging flesh. Wrap it up in towels or tube socks, or linen from the verdant fields surrounding the Nile. Most any white cotton will do. When an undead visits my chair in the Barber College, I skip only the organ removal part, and the blood, when I remove some, it's their problem. I reserve my mason jars for loose change or moonshine. That confident little aside is me being clever, ordinary me with too much time to think about it. Too much unemployed time to watch documentary shows on cable or read the internet. In everyday life, people scare me. In real time, mistakes make me too nervous for words. So when I cut the old dude, I didn't talk about mummies or fancy things, even though he looked like one. I apologized as best I could. Then I went back and I fell into an almost faint, really, in the antique barber chair, the one that we don't use. When the old man was gone, I returned to my station and washed my razor over and over again. Other people's blood makes me sick enough to bathe in barbicide. let my thoughts expire with the germs. The boss told me I should be kinder, gentler with the old farts wanting free shaves, all of them, regardless of kinship or how frequently they stop in. He told me this like I cut my client on purpose. He reminded me that I smoke too much myself and will undoubtedly look just like that old lizard skin bastard someday. I couldn't argue. Someday I will look exactly like him. I'll make my retreat from the world complete, hide deep within my folds of skin. But the boss should have known not to put me with the codger. The missing place he can feel on his right earlobe should have been proof enough. Yes, the head of the Barber College sat in my chair once, and only once, and I sent him to the back room howling, and then to the emergency room for 14 tiny stitches. To stop blood loss from a cut, elevate the injured area above the heart. Wrap with a clean, dry cloth, and apply consistent pressure until help arrives. If blood loss is severe, a tourniquet may be applied temporarily to stop blood flow entirely to an injured limb. Do not apply tourniquet pressure to the head, neck, or face. Do not confuse loss of life with losing face. This is the story of a man who, being me, never got it right, never stopped shaking, and never knew the perfect thing to say until it was too late. Failing innumerable times, I resolved to plot my course in advance. In my small, quiet room, above the gentle murmur of a hairstylist training salon, I could think of anything. I could imagine situations of every kind and compose the perfect response, line by line, word by word, perfection. I am so sorry I have sliced your gizzard, Gobbler Man. Would you like a moist towelette and perhaps an ambulance? Some situations I obsess over are purely hypothetical, but that is all right. Sometimes a man's best friend is the friend he never meets, his best conversation, the one he never has. Some people you see are natural-born improvisers, jazz musicians of language, those who thrive in social settings. Our man was not one of these. Our man was fumble-tongued in most situations. By our man, of course, I just mean me. Me and my mouth, and the dumb things it says, and the good things it doesn't say, or doesn't say in time, or doesn't say right half the time. If I don't just shut it, that's why I shut it. That's why I write my pretty thoughts down. On paper, there is no misfire between what I meant to say and what I said. My boss's ear, it bled. Not quite as much as the old man's gizzard, but a little chunk of turkey white flesh was stuck to the blade of my shears by all his smarmy, smeared-on boss blood, gleaming, bright red capillary blood. Less than perfect conversations have never been good enough for me, and this was one of those times. If you can't put it back like a Jesus move, a miracle of reattachment, there is nothing good to say to a man when you've accidentally removed part of his face. And not having the perfect response composed in advance, well, that just left me with nothing to say at all. Under an accumulation of these moments, I had to quit my assistant's job at the barber school, even though I could not afford to move from my tiny, non-air-conditioned upstairs apartment. My old boss, whose name is not Vincent van Gogh, despite the resemblance, he remains my landlord. I drop my rent through his mail slot, and I run.
I
And this is where we pause, fellow travelers, at the end of part 2 to find out about emergency notes that are so good they are almost holy. You will have to join us this time next week for part 3, The Luckiest Man Alive. We might even make it to part 4 next week, the big finish of the Barber of Deadsville. Can you wait? Please like, share, subscribe, and drop a little something in the tip jar if you can comfortably do so. Look for links to PayPal in the description. Your patronage helps me keep the whole thing going. And once again, I really want to keep the whole thing going. I want to talk to you each and every week. Thank you for being here. And thanks for being you. This adventure would not be the same without you. Ad Astra and Hail New Terra. Move and improve the world you're living in, even if only by one careful inch at a time. Good night if you're somewhere near my hemisphere, and good day if you're down under.